Going to get some reaction from the political parties. Now the DA's John Steenhuisen joins me now live. Mr. Steenhuisen, a very good evening to you. Thanks indeed for your time. Your reaction, sir, to the former President Jacob Zuma being placed on medical parole?
Well, I think it's extremely odd. If viewers will remember that after the Shabir Sheikh incident, the Standing Committee in Parliament got together and made it a lot tougher to be able to get medical parole. It required you to have appear before a board of assessment. In this instance, it looks like the National Commissioner, who happens also to be Mr. Zuma's old henchman, Fraser, has made a decision to place him on medical parole. We also know Mr. Zuma was unwilling to submit himself to private medical examination. Yeah. And so it has raised significant suspicions that this is a political rather than a medical decision that has been made.
Do you think there might have been some kind of pressure, Mr. Steenhuisen, given the events that we also saw unfold in South Africa over the past couple of weeks, the riots that took place? We know that South Africa is going to a local government election, the African National Congress as well. We've seen some commentary from some quarters indicating that some even wanted to punish the African National Congress for what it had supposedly done to the former president.
Yeah, well, that may be the case, but then we must be honest about these situations. You don't claim medical parole then. The president should have had the backbone to offer a presidential pardon rather than going through the charade like we saw with Mr. Shabir Sheikh, who is still fit and well today, but who was given medical parole many, many years ago when it was very clear that there was no real case to be made. And it's precisely because of that the laws were tightened, and it appears that they've not been applied in this particular case, and that instead Mr. Fraser has made a decision not in the best interest of justice in South Africa or his Correctional Services Division, but made a decision in the best interest of Mr. Jacob Zuma. And that's exactly why our country is in the mess that it's in today, with state capture and an incapable state, and it appears the same mistakes have been made over and over again.
So if you say those laws were not applied, is there any course of action that the Democratic Alliance is looking to pursue?
Absolutely. We'll be calling the National Commissioner before Parliament. Mr. Fraser must come to Parliament and explain his decision to grant Mr. Zuma a pardon. There are many, many other people in the correctional services system who are genuinely terminally ill, who have been turned down for medical parole. And it's very clear here you've got another set of rules being applied once again to connected ANC cadres that are not available to ordinary citizens. Equality before the law is a fundamental principle in any democracy. And when that fundamental principle is unprovided, it causes problems.
Dear Leader John Steenhuisen, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We'll give you lots more reaction. Our teams are busy lining up the reaction now. Of course, I did say earlier on that the ANC itself is holding its weekend lekgotla. The governing party currently dealing with a myriad of internal problems that could be the main source of discussion during that meeting. So from funding, elections to candidate issues, the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will have a tough task in navigating his party through these. Xolani Dube is a political analyst at the Zubera Institute for Research and Development. Mr. Dube, a very good evening to you. Thanks indeed for your time. First of all, when I spoke to you a bit earlier on, we had not yet received the news of the release on parole of the former President Jacob Zuma. Let me get your reaction to that, first of all. Are you surprised?
Look, I think is a pacifying dummy that the scriptwriter now and again they put into our mouth in order to defocus us from the real cause or the real problems in our country, because we know it very well that the issue of Jacob Zuma is just not the real issues that we as South African really need to spend time discussing. And so it's just a pacifying dummy that the script writers
What do you mean a pacifying dummy? I'm a bit confused, Mr. Dube, forgive me. What do you mean a pacifying dummy? What do you mean?
Look, the real issue in South Africa is the white power. That is the main thing that we as South Africans, especially the South African natives, are supposed to be discussing, because the issue of Jacob Zuma is the byproduct of the white power in South Africa. And so if we are not going to discuss the white power in South Africa, we are not going to really solve the problems that we have. We will keep on solving the byproducts of the white power in our country.
Do you think this course of action, you'd recall that when the violence and riots had started in KwaZulu-Natal and of course had spread to areas here in Gauteng, in the beginning, the course of action that was put before that was that there'd been unhappiness about the imprisonment of the former president. Do you think that his release on medical parole will now quell some of the tensions that we have seen since his imprisonment?
Look, I think what you have to understand that the whole thing that happened in July, the massacre of the South African natives, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, those things, one, when you look at it and when you read what the newspaper are saying, is an old strategy of the state where it creates violence in order to keep us occupied. And also at the same time, it makes us vulnerable and makes the state very powerful, because if you remember during that chaos that happened in our country, there were lots of people who were asking, where is the state? Where is the president? Where is the governing party? And then that's where one can say we were surrendering our power, we're handing it over to the state. And so if you understand how the South African apartheid maintained its power in South Africa, it was through violence. And so we know it very well that the ANC warmly embraced the baton of the apartheid system and structures and the way the apartheid government was operating. And so when we see violence that happened in July, we were not surprised, because we understood very well that this is the continuation of how apartheid maintained its power in South Africa. And so to attribute that chaos to people who are on social media and others, I think is off the mark.
All right, Mr. Dube, I want to come to another issue, which is obviously going to be a top of discussion at that ANC Lekgotla, the issue of the candidates. I mean, who within the party should be held to account? For example, in KwaZulu-Natal, for the ANC, one could categorize this latest debacle around the registration of candidates as a complete mess.
Look, we have to understand that what is happening in politics is not out of mistakes. You know, there are intentions on the things that we see happening in politics. They are well orchestrated. They have an end result. They have an objective. And so it's clear here that what is the main objective of what is happening in the ANC? It's simple, is to destroy the ANC. Because when you destroy the ANC, you destroy the hegemony of the South African natives. And so, as I always argue, South Africa is in a fourth power transition. Post it, the South African natives need to be wiped out of the political power, where other nations will simply assume this symbolism of being in parliament and being the president and the mayors and so forth. And so I think what will happen, I can assure you, post the president of Cyril Ramaphosa, will see the South African natives being wiped out from the political discourse and the political power in South Africa.
On another issue, Dr. Ntutuko Mahlaba being re-elected unopposed as chairperson of the ANC's eMalahleni region by delegates. Any surprise there?
As I'm saying, you know, when you are going to concentrate on Mahlaba, on all these things that are happening in ANC, we'll be losing what is happening currently in our country. And that is the main aim of those who are having the script. The main thing that we have to do as the South African natives is to go directly to those who got the scripts. And those who got the scripts, we know it very well. Who are those? Is the white power. And who are the people behind white power? Is the mineral energy complex, your Oppenheimer, your Rupert, those who control and those who are the owners of the means of production in our country. And so those are the people that really we need to confront and have an honest discourse. Because if we're not going to have it, Crisalda, I can assure you, next year, 10 years to come, we'll be having the same argument, the same discourse of seeing black people not capable of governing themselves, of seeing black people of being thieves, of seeing black people of not capable of doing anything.
Mr. Dube, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've got lots of reaction lined up. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Xolani Dube, political analyst, the Zubera Institute for Research. Always a pleasure speaking to you.